Hello everyone, today we'll be talking about what is under the hood of the Aptera. Let's start off with a clip from an interview Jason Hill did with Aptera Owners Club. This will give us a reference for what is under the hood.
There is an efficient use of everything that is up front, and shortly we'll be able to share what is exactly up there, and you'll see like, oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
Like it'll just become that obvious.
So from that we'll learn that there's efficient use of the space under the hood. I take this to mean that there's a lot of things that need to go down there. We also learned that the stuff under the hood would only need to be accessed for maintenance, and this would not be done by the normal user. Firstly, there are some suspension parts that need to go in this part of the Aptera. You may have just assumed that the suspension pieces attach where they go into the body of the Aptera. However, this would overlook one major detail. The location of the spring and shocks for most vehicles would be in between the wheel pant and body for the Aptera. This wouldn't work for two reasons. First and most obviously, you wouldn't want anything extra to block the wind in this area. Secondly, the shocks and springs need to go from one suspension part to one frame part. This would be hard to do outside of the body structure. Here we have a view that starts to give us an idea of how the suspension works. As you can see, the lower control arm connects just inside the body structure, as you might expect. However, the upper control arm pivots on that point that you see it attached and continues on into the body structure. And from this view, you can see where that upper control arm goes and how it attaches to the shocks that then attach to the frame of the Aptera. From this same view, we can also see the hint of the next thing I'm going to talk about. You see the hole close to the driver's side shock? This is where the steering column will likely go through the firewall. It looks like this will be relatively tightly packed close to the suspension parts. The steering column would connect to the steering linkages that we can see between the upper and lower control arms of the Aptera. Connected to one of these parts would traditionally be the power steering. This may be the case with the Aptera, or they may choose to use torque vectoring to make it easier to turn. This is a relatively new method since it needs control of the power to each wheel. So we'll have to wait and see if this is what Aptera ends up doing, or if they go with a more traditional power steering system. Next, let's talk about something that there's been a fair bit of speculation on already. To frame the discussion, let's watch a clip from an interview Jason Hill did with the Tailosive EV podcast. I really enjoyed this interview, and it will be linked below with all of the other videos that I referenced.
Just for what it's worth, we have a very efficient way to top off the wiper fluid.
Oh, good.
That'll be a little bit of a surprise, but it makes the most sense when you kind of frame it in the right way for everybody.
So there will be an efficient way to top off the wiper fluid on the Aptera. To me, this seems more important on an electric vehicle than a gas vehicle. The reason for that is I don't use my washer fluid a whole lot on my current vehicle because I use a squeegee a lot of times when filling up my car with gas. However, if you're charging at home, this won't really be an option all that much. This means I may need to use my windshield wiper fluid a fair bit more. So what did Jason Hill mean by an efficient way to top off the windshield wiper fluid? There at one point was speculation that Jason Hill was overlooking the windshield wiper fluid when he said that the hood would not need to be opened by the normal user. To me, this clip sounds like Jason Hill saying, "No, I knew what I was talking about. You won't need to open the hood to do the windshield wiper fluid." So I went back to the Delta reveal video to see if I could find what he was talking about. The only thing I could find was this opening on the passenger side that will be between the hood and the windshield. I had seen this earlier, but it didn't seem like it was the right shape. However, at this point, this is my best guess for where the windshield wiper fluid fill port will be. My main concern, if this is the case, is how easy it will be to fill it up with a big jug of windshield wiper fluid. I would hope we wouldn't need to use an external funnel to fill up the Aptera's windshield wiper fluid, in which case it would probably be just about as good if it was under the hood. However, with Jason Hill saying they have an efficient way to top off the windshield wiper fluid, I would guess this is not the case. What I would guess to be the case is the cover for this area flips up and acts as a funnel for the filling process. However, this may not even be the location to fill up the windshield wiper fluid. Another component that might be under the hood of the Aptera is the brake fluid reservoir and master cylinder for the braking system. I would guess that this would go somewhere over near the steering column to make so that it is relatively close to the brake pedal. They may not need a very large traditional braking system because of the regen that they might be able to achieve. As you know, the launch edition of the Aptera has a dedicated motor in the hub of each wheel. On top of this, the Aptera is considerably lighter than the average EV. This could make for exceptional regenerative braking performance. Another thing that is necessary in the Aptera is a thermal management system. I'm not completely sure what will all be involved in this system. At one point, I believe someone at Aptera talked about the possibility of using cabin air conditioner components to cool the battery. The main time that this might be needed is when the vehicle is fast charging on a hot day. Fast charging is already one of the more complex things for a thermal management system of an EV. If the main form of cooling of the Aptera is skin cooling, it would have trouble being effective when the vehicle is not moving and there is not air flowing over it. The thermal management system of the Aptera seems like it would be one of the more difficult things to design in the Aptera, and it would be interesting to know if the employees of Aptera share this sentiment. I suspect most of the thermal management system will be on the passenger side, relatively close to the firewall. Close to this, they would need to have the air conditioner and heating components. This shroud seems to be funneling a lot of the air in the vent at the back of the hood into the main cabin. Typically, a vehicle's climate control system uses 20% air from the outside and 80% air from the inside vehicle, unless the user has the recirculate feature on. It seems like that shroud likely lines up with the whole scene right here. The Aptera will also need a cabin air filter. I would lean towards this being under the dash instead of under the hood. The Aptera will also need a fuse box. Most gas vehicles use one fuse box under the dash and one fuse box under the hood. However, there is some chance Aptera would take it down to just one fuse box. If you don't know much about the components of an EV, you may be surprised to hear that EVs still need a 12-volt battery. So I'm guessing the Aptera will have one as well. This will likely also be placed under the hood. The vehicle control unit will also need to go somewhere, likely either under the dash or the hood. This is what decides how much current to give to each motor based on the position of the accelerator pedal and speed of the vehicle. There's also likely to be some components that control the solar charging. And last but not least, there will need to be an inverter for the Aptera. This may go under the hood, under the dash, or somewhere near the battery compartment. The inverter takes the direct current from the battery and converts it to alternating current, which is what the motors want. That was quite a bit of components for Aptera to fit under the hood. Let me know in the comments if I missed any, or if you think anything I said won't be in the Aptera, or at least under the hood. And with that, have a great day, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos about Aptera.